WWE 2K has just revealed their first look at the new MyRise story called Mutiny. It's the first of its kind, it's a whole new mode, blah blah blah. Let's have a look at the trailer that released on IGN first, and let's have a quick look at the Ringside Report and see what information we can take out of there. So thanks to this first look, we have a look at the main menu for the first time. Nothing crazy here, but it's a little bit more expansive than the leaked image that leaked on Twitter. It has a few more bells and whistles, and you can see that on there are actually tabs, but you can't see because my camera's in the way. That is really funny. I don't know how to read it. Oh no, wait. There we are. Cool. So there we are. Behind my camera there, you can see there are tabs that let you go across the other modes. I'm assuming there'll be like a creation suite, and then there'll be one for options, and maybe something else like DLC or PlayStation Store or Xbox Store, whatever it may be. What was really cool, I want to go through this without playing any footage, so what was really cool, I'll go through freeze frames here. I've actually just noticed on this freeze frame, I didn't notice this before, that they've updated the commentary table to have the new Netflix design, which is really, really cool. So I'm glad that that new table made it in. I've been going on this for ages. I don't know if that table can be broken. I've seen so many bumps and spots on the table on TV, and it's never broke. So I'm like, can it break? So I'm curious to see how they've animated that in the video game. What's really cool about the developers here going through the first minutes of this mode is that you have Triple H announcing that he's going to be hosting the new WWE era draft, and this new mysterious character is going to be potentially the first draft pick, and they're a big deal. As Triple H is talking, you get these prompts, you get these really cool little selection boxes here. So you don't like start the game with like a tick box or anything. You literally just start by depending on like the dialogue choices, you choose whether to be in the women's division, the men's division, and that then continues on the conversation and just informs what's going to happen next in the scene. As you go on through this scene, there's actually more options to do, so you can choose what Triple H says in the next scene here. So Triple H says, oh, we are going to bring in this woman, she's going to be this amazing big part of Raw or SmackDown or NXT moving forward, and then it pauses to this dialogue choice, and then it's like Triple H can say either she's going to be one of the biggest top stars on Raw or SmackDown, or maybe she's a decorated MMA champion. And again, this is all part of the lore, the backstory of your character, and being able to kind of choose your... There's a bit more of a roleplay aspect this year, which I quite like in the choices. What's really cool as well, I'm not going to go into depth here, but it really quickly goes through Creation Suite, because at this point, after Triple H's whole promo announcing the draft, you have this really quick time lapse of creating a character and what that involves. And obviously they're not going to go into the Creation Suite at this point. That's still going to be, I think it's going to be a more in-depth thing later, but here you can see it's very similar to what we've had before. And they did announce in the Ringside Report that you can still import and export characters from MyRise. So if you did want to put Jon Moxley into MyRise, you can do that, and you can also export them. So if you have built up their stats and you've built up your character to a point where you're happy with like the look and the style and the stats, you can export them to other game modes. In actual gameplay, the actual mode plays very similar to previous MyRises. So on the surface, there might not be many updates, like you are just still seeing the social feed. You have these hubs, they're called the MyRise hubs. So when your character's not doing anything, you get plopped into this area, and you can literally rotate and talk to random characters in the area, which trigger new cutscenes, new dialogue, new side missions, new matches. And it's the same as previous years. Depending on who you talk to, depending on the stories that you start, depending on your alignment, whether you're a face or heel, depends on which stories you can go for and what you unlock as the mode goes on. And you can interact with the social feeds, so you can interact with you can like reply to some people on social feeds, and you can choose how the story goes from there. And sometimes it unlocks exclusive matches, which in turn then gives you like new unlockables within the mode or within the game as well. So the example they showed here was that they selected a female character, they created her, they did announce that you can now customize the casual wear for your character. So if you want your character to wear something different when they're not wrestling, when they're going out and about in the hubs and stuff, you can now do that, which is very, very cool. So they're not wearing like just generic tracksuits or whatever. You can actually customize how they look, and especially with things like the island having branded items, I think this is a good step forward for being able to, you know, character expression and all that. But what they chose here was a female wrestler wearing her casual outfit, and then they meet the WWE producer, Troy Simpkin, which is a fictional character made up for MyRise. He's appeared in other MyRise story modes, and they chose here that your character is an upstart, not really an upstart, but like a huge star in UFC, or I guess MMA, coming over to the WWE, and depending on your choice, obviously, then Troy will say, oh wow, you're from MMA and you're coming over to sports entertainment, that's so cool, we're happy to have you in WWE. And those are the kind of dialogue implications that happen based on the choices that you make about your character. So Troy asks you, hey, we're going to get you wrestling your first match, who do you want to wrestle? You then have the choice of 3 people. One of the things that they wanted to highlight, they talk about in the developer commentary, is in this particular choice you've got Shinsuke, Sonya, and Shayna. But the reason that they have people like Shinsuke in there is so that they can highlight the fact that you can now do intergender wrestling. So if your character did want to face Shinsuke in their first match, you can do that. Sorry, I misspoke there. It's not that their first match, but it's your like warm-up match, I guess, in the Performance Center. So in this developer commentary, they've chose Shinsuke Nakamura, so showing off the intergender wrestling. You go into the match here, it's the Performance Center. This is really like the same as every MyRise. So every single MyRise starts with a Performance Center match. I guess it's like a tutorial, I guess, so just getting you started with the match. One thing I have actually noticed here is on just above the character nameplates on the bottom there, you have the chain icon, which I think might indicate either a boost to chain wrestling, or maybe that's like an indicator of how long the chain wrestling happens for. I don't really know. So what's really cool, after your training match with Shinsuke or whoever you choose, you then go on to the WWE Draft on Raw, and it gives you the presentation. So it's very much like, here's an episode of Raw, here's your character stepping out of a car and walking through the car park, and it's like, oh yeah, this person's coming over from MMA, she's really cool, she might be in the draft, and it's cool. You then get put into a hub where you can do some social media stuff, but then you also meet Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly with a new model this year, which is very, very cool. She's looking great. I hope she is playable as a manager. I hope she can be unlocked as an actual wrestler. But one of the cool things here is basically Kathy gives you like a full interview. So she's like, oh cool, you've been in MMA for however many years. What personality did you have in MMA? And what's your personality like now? And how are you going to wrestle? And what is your, you know, all these random questions. But these questions are cool because they're portrayed to the player as an interview from Kathy Kelly, but it actually informs your character choices. So this is going to be the attitude of your character moving forward. So if you choose, there's a few different choices here, but there's like bold and brash, comedic and fun, scheming and calculated. And they said scheming and calculated is more like your Seth Rollins, someone who's actually competent, but is quite scheming in how they get to their end goal. Comedic and fun, a bit more of that comedy, goofy character. They kind of said it was like Troy last year, but I guess maybe more like an R-Truth to some extent, maybe like a Chad Gable who's good but also funny. And then you get bold and brash, who's maybe someone like a Jacob Fatu or a Braun Strowman or somebody who's like bold and is very confident in their abilities and just marches forward to the beat of their own drum kind of situation. But these early choices are what inform your character moving forward for this whole mode. So after you make all of your initial choices and you've had your training match, you then start on the draft. You get introduced here by Triple H, and it's like, this person is our first draft pick for this show, and your character comes out and it's like, woo, and you got Nick Aldis there, I think is a debuting character for the 2K games. But as your character comes out to celebrate them being drafted to whatever show that they're being drafted to, a masked assailant comes out and attacks your character from behind, and then they run off. And it's like, who attacked your character? And that is the first story in MyRise. The developers actually gave some insight to CM Punk's inclusion last year. So obviously CM Punk wasn't in MyRise last year, he was in DLC. So because he was a DLC character, they couldn't actually use him in the 2K showcase. So or not the 2K showcase, sorry, MyRise. They couldn't use Punk really in any game mode other than Exhibition Universe mode. And because this year he's part of the base roster and they've had access to him all year with like voiceovers and animations, they've been able to incorporate him to the MyRise story, and apparently he is like a fairly decent focal point of the story, essentially imparting his wisdom to you, the player character, which is very cool. So in this particular case, the character was drafted to SmackDown, and you can see here that they've changed the character's look again, and they're wrestling Sensational Starla, which apparently is a character from MyGM or something, or it's MyRise in previous years. But it's essentially just, it's a job, what would you call them nowadays? It's a squash match, it's a jobber match, it's essentially just your introduction to your character. This ends up then culminating in the masked assailant attacking your character once more, but this time your character stops them, tries to pull the mask off of the character. Unfortunately though, we don't get to see who the masked person is because obviously they want us to play the game. So I guess you'll find out who the masked assailant is in literally like 2 weeks. Obviously, without spoiling anything, then the story then progresses to basically you needing backup, because apparently this masked assailant has friends who are also attacking you or something, and you need backup. So then Nick Aldis says, do you have backup? And then this is when you customize your male character for the storyline. So although you may start as the woman character, the female character, you can then progress the story with that character, but also develop the male character. You team up together, I guess, and you do stories together because it's just one story this year for both genders with branching storylines and multiple endings, which is all sounding very good in my opinion. So to close off this video, your character then goes to an independent show to recruit this male character you've just created, and this is where the video ends. So this is apparently the video is called the first 20 minutes, but the Ringside Report says that this actually encompasses the first hour or so of the story. So there must be like so much more that we're not even privy to, we're not even seeing here. So that's it for the first look at MyRise from IGN. Let's move over to the Ringside Report, see what little juicy little tidbits we can get from the 2K blog. So welcome to the Ringside Report 4. This is featuring specifically MyRise and the updated special guest referee. It then links to the IGN video that has, 20 minutes of MyRise gameplay with the dev commentary. And yeah, it's only 2 weeks till launch. So apparently there are some mild spoilers in this, I guess, the video and the report. So yeah, if you don't want any of that, probably leave now. So this year's story is dubbed the MyRise Mutiny, and it revolves around a hostile takeover of NXT led by a group of superstars looking to make shockwaves across WWE, but then the takeover quickly infiltrates Raw and SmackDown, leading to a power struggle within with the future of the industry at stake. Obviously, one of the big things that they're highlighting this year is player expression, custom superstars, and the choices that you make in MyRise. Okay, so it says here that you create one from the men's division and one from the women's division in either order, depending on user choice. So either way, you're creating two superstars for the MyRise. It just, whichever one you do first depends on the choices. So MyRise also now has 3 combined slots, which I'm thinking means that there are 3 save slots, and each slot contains male and female characters. So essentially, you can do MyRise 3 times with totally different characters, should you want to. One of the key features here is that once you complete a full playthrough, you have the option to replay MyRise on the same save slot with your experience and choices carrying forward, or you can actually do like a new game plus, or I guess that is kind of a new game plus, but essentially you can restart the slot if you so want to. Importing and exporting characters is also still available, which is what I mentioned already, but it is separate to the My Superstar, which is exclusive to the island, so you can't take your MyRise character and plug them into the island. The island is like a whole separate thing. This year we are also excited to give players the option of a casual attire for the characters, which will show up in story moments such as promos in non-arena settings. So here we can see, I guess it's some sort of like con, or WrestleCon, and your character's talking to Trish Stratus and DDP, which is very cool. So personality types is something that they are really pushing in the developer commentary, depending on your choice, as mentioned before. Bold and brash, comedic and fun, or scheming and calculated. Depends on which way your characters respond to things around them during the story, but it also affects the stories that are available to you. After all, a bold and brash superstar like Becky Lynch might approach the situation differently than a scheming, calculated superstar like Seth Rollins. So again, I guess it's kind of forcing you to play the game mode multiple times, which is totally fine. If you've got branching storylines and there's a reason to play it multiple times, I don't see anything wrong with this. As mentioned here, your decisions will take you down distinct branches and pathways with characters, arenas, entrances, and more that you can unlock, so it's definitely worth playing multiple times to get the most out of MyRise. One thing they've yet to clarify though, I wonder if the Ringside Pass that gets you like the supercharger that unlocks everything, I wonder if that will unlock everything from MyRise, but yeah, they haven't said yet. Allies, storylines, and live events. So this is something I read on Twitter and I couldn't quite parse it in my head. So as you progress through MyRise, you'll come across brand new allies storylines where you'll be able to play as a WWE superstar for part of the story rather than a custom super. This is really cool. So you step into the ring as top names such as Drew, Jey Uso, Charlotte, Becky, to help take on NXT Mutiny. This is very cool. Okay, so you can actually play as WWE superstars in the storyline as well, that's very cool. And it kind of breaks up the pace a little bit. You don't want to be playing as the same character all the time, right? This is like one of the biggest complaints of 2K Showcase in past years is you're just playing as the same character over and over again. That's something that they've obviously moved away from in 2K Showcase, but it's still an issue in MyRise where you are playing as the same character in every single match. It also says here there are exclusive ally storylines involving people like Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley that are only accessible on subsequent playthroughs, which again encourages you to play the game mode multiple times because there will be exclusive storylines that you cannot get otherwise. So I guess there are ally storylines that only open up the second and maybe third time you play the mode. So they're trying not to spoil too much, but they do reveal that there are multiple endings to MyRise, so depending on the choices you make throughout the whole storyline, leads to different outcomes. So it's again important to play it again. I'm just repeating myself here. They are also introducing the live event feature. So this was very confusing because the island has a live event feature as well, where you're playing timed events to unlock things. But that doesn't seem to be the same as a live event here in MyRise. So a live event is like literally a live event, a house show, I guess. But these are optional matches that allow you to build your character's progress, tracked across multiple playthroughs, and they're a great way to unlock additional superstars, my faction cards, and original MyRise characters that have been in high demand. So 2 of the live event unlocks that they show here, which will be the first, I assume the first 2 available within 2K Showcase, or I keep saying 2K Showcase, within MyRise Mutiny, is the Demon Finn Balor, which is great because he's been away for a couple of games now. He's been available in Community Creations, but very good to see him back. And Cole Quinn returns. Don't know if anybody is excited about that, but Cole Quinn returns. But I do, all jokes aside, I do think it's very cool that they create these custom characters for MyRise and they allow you to unlock them to be used in other modes, because at the end of the day, more wrestlers, more fun. So that's going to be it for Showcase. Keep saying Showcase. That's going to be it for MyRise. Let's move on to the updated special guest referee match. So in 2K25, they've introduced 2 new match types, the Blood Run rules and the Underground, plus 2 new brawl environments, the WWE Archive and the NXT parking lot, but they've also expanded support for special guest referee. So previously, it was only available for 1v1 matches. You could only do it 1v1. You could use custom rules to kind of like, you know, change the rules, make it no DQ or make it somewhat like an Iron Man match. But in this case, you can see here that there is a multi-man Hell in a Cell here, presumably a Fatal 4-Way or something with Gunther, Carlito, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes. Perhaps there's more on the side there, but CM Punk is the special guest referee. And these are all the matches that are available in... Oh god, I'll have to hide my camera again. Oh no, I can't. There we are. So these are all the matches that are available this year for special guest referee. So you've got your... essentially all the way up to 6-man, you've got normal tags, tornado tags, falls count anywheres, Hell in a Cell, Iron Man matches, submission, extreme rules, no holds barred. I don't know how that's any different from false count anywhere or extreme rules, but whatever, no holds barred. You also have tornado tag 3 versus 3. You also have 5-man extreme rules and 6-man triple tornado tags, which are pretty insane. So honestly, this is like pretty much all the game modes you would want, essentially. Maybe it would be cool to have cage matches. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Maybe I can't really think what other game modes you want. Maybe something like a cage is the one that comes to mind. I don't really see the point in having a ref for a ladder match. I guess the main thing is just having the option to fuck around with your friends in these game modes, and I think having at least no DQ, falls count anywhere, and Hell in a Cell match is a great step forward, and honestly is probably most of what you need. So that's going to be it for the MyRise update and the Ringside Report. Are you excited for MyRise this year? I think there's like a lot of really good stuff they're adding this year. I really like the branching stories. I like the dialogue choices to choose your character's personality. It's looking like a very good mode to play, and it's going to be worth your time. It seems like it respects your time. I guess the balance they need to find is whether the mode needs to be long enough to enjoy the first time you play, but not too long that subsequent replays are too long. I find that that's a really delicate balance of, it's too long, so I don't want to play it again. And maybe the choices don't make a huge difference on the story overall, but it depends how many endings there are and maybe what the branching storylines are. And I'm really excited to see the expansion of Special Guest Referee. Last year, obviously, it was only 1-on-1, so I didn't really play the mode that much, and you'll see in some videos coming up on the channel that I really don't experience Special Referee as much as I should, so having the expanded match types I think is a really good step forward for the mode. But that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a comment down below for your most excited feature in 2K25. If you did watch the video all the way through, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel. We've probably just hit 300 subscribers, but when I'm recording this, we're just about to hit 300. So it's been insane. Thank you so much for the support for just the short time that we've been around. I'm really excited for 2K25. I'm going to be covering more Ringside Reports. It says here that there's going to be more Ringside Reports covering my GM, Universe, and my faction. So there's going to be more videos coming up before the release of 2K25. But that's going to be us for today. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.